We are obviously very much mobilized, enthused, focused in on this midterm election, which is starting to break at just the right time in just the right way. I think increasingly it really is just down to a very simple, a very straightforward proposition. This election comes down to whether a majority of the American people care that Democrats have been wrong about everything for the last 2 years. Pretty straightforward, Clay. I mean, it's just do a majority. Obviously, a big percentage of us, meaning of the American people, are going to vote Democrat no matter what. But does a majority care that Democrats are wrong about everything and have made everything worse and have failed and want to keep failing? So that's really what this referendum in this midterm election could be attributed to. It feels like we are heading toward a moment of national sanity. Dare I say, a moment of national healing for the sane among us. For the people who are still furious about the Stalinist airline attendants telling you to pull your mask up over your nose. For the people who have been shouting at the TV screen for the last 2 years, hey, Biden and the rest of the idiots, stop spending trillions of dollars. You're going to cause economic calamity. Stop it. For the people who have been saying, hey, the wide open border, 5 million illegals pouring into the country. Even, let's just say, let's take it as if 1%, if 0.5% of them have criminal records, and some of them are really bad individuals. They found sex offenders. They found MS-13 gang members. But 1% of 5 million is a lot of people, right? The people have been saying, hold on, what is going on to the communities where the illegals have been in unprecedented numbers? We see that, by the way, right now, and I think we're going to see more of it. Ron DeSantis may have more flights going to Delaware, and I forget what the other one, I think Delaware and Chicago in the last couple of weeks here. And the people, obviously, on the crime issue who have been saying enough is enough. This midterm could be a point of clarity and sanity. And that's, I think, the best thing we could say about it, because you're not going to have a Republican president. You're not going to have major legislation that can get done at the national, federal level. State level, though, very important things can happen. And we know state governments matter. But, Clay, on the crime issue, but I was looking at this morning, and you can just look at some of these headlines. Man dressed as a ninja attacks New York City strap hanger with a samurai sword before going on the run in Manhattan's financial district. And this is after two shovings in front of trains on the subway that have happened last week. In San Francisco, they're arming themselves with baseball bats and stun guns for their walk to work in broad daylight now, past drug sobriety centers because they're afraid addicts will attack them. People have had enough. You know, we finally have reached the point. The Democrat media with January 6th and, the freedom to abort babies and all the things they've been talking about for the last 6 months. People have said, this is just crazy. We need to stop this madness. And I think it's happening. I think it's finally happening.
Yeah, and look, it's reflected in what is going on out there. I like to share the gambling data in conjunction with the polls, as many of you know. Yesterday, I came on and I said, hey, good news. Dr. Oz has actually moved into the favorite position in the Pennsylvania Senate race. For people out there who wager, put their real money down on races, you can watch it. You can see it over the course of the last 6 months. First time yesterday was the first time that Dr. Oz has ever been favored over John Fetterman. Today, this morning, Herschel Walker is now favored to beat Raphael Warnock in Georgia. I've been telling you that I think that was going to happen, but now the money is all coming in on Herschel Walker and all of the attacks, Buck. We talked about this right as October started. They fired everything they had at Herschel Walker, all of a personal nature, right? Nothing to do with what he actually is advocating for, not arguing against him, just going after him for personal failings. And Republicans, it seems to me, have actually rallied around Herschel Walker as a result, because for many people, this solidified how desperate Democrats have become, that they have to go after him personally. And he now has surged into the lead in the gambling markets, and the polls are reflecting. I think the most recent poll came out, said it was a dead heat. He's going to win. I believe Herschel Walker is going to win, and Oz is going to win. And you start in Nevada, we've still got Adam Laxalt. And the last one, Buck, I'm sticking to it. Blake Masters is going to win in Arizona, I believe. So I think Republicans are going to pick up 3.
That is the absolute home run scenario because Republicans are playing a lot of defense in the Senate in this election cycle. So just as a function of what states are up and where, it wasn't a great cycle for the GOP. If you get a +3 coming out of this, that is the grand slam, right? That is people high-fiving as they run the bases. And I think that's very possible right now. I've had faith in Oz very, very early on. You've had unwavering faith in Herschel. I must say, you've never, even when we talk offline, I will tell you all, Clay has said Herschel's going to get it done because they've gone after Herschel with a lot. Clay has never wavered in his faith in Herschel getting it done. But here's Dr. Oz saying, if he can tell the truth more than Fetterman can tell lies, basically, this is going to work out in Pennsylvania, that critical seat. Play 12.
The reason this race, I think, is where it is because the Democratic Party has been pouring money into Pennsylvania. I just learned before I walked out on the stage here, we're expecting another $10 million coming against us. And it's a panic move because they know they're in trouble. And they're pulling in money from every which way. That's why it is vital that we have the support. If I can tell the truth about John Fetterman more than he lies about me, we've got this race.
I mean, when you think about the money, Clay, that's poured into the Pennsylvania Senate race, Georgia Senate race, Georgia governor's race. We haven't talked much about Doug Mastriano, by the way. You know what? We should have Doug Mastriano on. Isn't he the Pennsylvania
he's the nominee for
gubernatorial
Republican governorship in Pennsylvania? We should get him on. But yeah, you're right. The amount of dollars that have rolled in is really pretty extraordinary. And Fetterman is desperate. Did you see this story, Buck? He had his campaign donor doctor put out a letter saying he's healthy enough to do the job. And I think if you go back and look, that interview that he did with NBC, where he was reading off of the computer screen and he clearly couldn't understand what he was being asked, and his wife is demanding an apology from the reporter who actually conducted that interview, I think that's when his campaign officially imploded. And I believe that October 25th, am I right about that, Buck, is the date of the only Senate debate in Pennsylvania because Fetterman's only doing one. And I think that's going to end this race. And let me say why I think it's going to end this race. First of all, Fetterman's wrong on all the issues, but also my understanding is he's going to be using a screen to read the questions that are being asked to him. So I think many people are going to watch that and say, my goodness, this guy really can't do the job because he's reading off a computer screen.
And I do think that many of the arguments, including Fetterman's wife demanding an apology from journalists who are basically the Fetterman PR team, but there's only so much a PR team can do, right? At some point, you haven't given them enough to work with, and that's where Fetterman is as a candidate. Some of the arguments that have been made to support Fetterman in this whole process, it is truly insulting to the intelligence of the voters of Pennsylvania, and honestly just more broadly of the American people, to say, oh, it's just like he has a broken leg, or it's like he has a disability where he can't walk properly. No, it is not like that. Everyone understands that a massive stroke that makes it impossible for you to understand or speak normally is not the same as, hurting your knee skiing and having a cast on. But these are the kind of arguments that have been made. This is what they've been saying. The desperation is palpable from the libs.
Yeah, the analogy that I made, Buck, take it outside of a Senate race. You have to be able to be physically capable to do the job. If you were picking a relay team and one of your relay members had a broken leg, you wouldn't let him run in the race. That's not because you're anti-people with broken legs. It's because the race requires that you have functional legs in order to be able to win it. Well, Senate election requires that you be able to debate, discuss the issues of the day. That's the job. If you can't do that, you don't deserve to be on in the Senate. And his opinions are so bad, Buck. It's not even just the health. It's the health that puts it over the top. But he doesn't deserve to be there based on what he said in the past.
Do you think we're heading into we're in crunch time here, folks. We got a couple of weeks basically. What's the count? Is it 18 days?
19 days.
19 days. Thank you. 19 days to the election, and so we're in crunch time. Less than 3 weeks. Do you think we start to see from the media, because ultimately they just really do care about themselves, right? I mean, obviously they're Democrat partisans, but they also, it's really
Don't
always
wanna look
about
dumb.
them. Like journos are the most narcissistic people.
Yeah.
They're as narcissistic as any Instagram influencer or Meghan Markle or you name it, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that they're going to start doing expectations management here in some places? You think New York Times is going to start explaining how, well, it's not really fair to think of this as a referendum on, or are you expecting a last-minute onslaught of some kind of, do they have a trick up the sleeve that we haven't seen
I think
yet?
there'll be a lot of Hail Marys, but I think I sent you yesterday, didn't I, the CNN story about Mandela Barnes in his race against Ron Johnson, and how they were basically letting it be known that somebody was to blame, and it couldn't be that Ron Johnson's a good candidate and has run a good campaign. It has to be that
right. Do you think we're
going to
see more of that?
is going on. Well, look, I think there are a lot of guys and girls who are Democrat stalwarts that are going to get wrecked. Beto is going to get crushed. Stacey Abrams going to get absolutely destroyed. Mandela Barnes, like all these, Fetterman even, I think. All these people that were supposed to be the patron saints of the Democrat Party, and they're going to have to go back. And I was actually thinking about that this morning. What will their morning after the midterm reaction be on MSNBC and CNN? I'm probably going to watch.
This election was racist.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're going to say.
I'm just curious what they're going to say.